What's going on, Spitfires? Welcome back to another episode of the Spitfire podcast. I'm your host, Lauren LeMunyan, the Spitfire coach, coming to you with another episode to hopefully light you up, inspire you, motivate you as we live this thing called life. Today, I am coming to you with some self-reflection, with some insights. I have been doing a lot more writing, thinking, meditating, and I realized that I was kind of like on this input output train. And I wasn't giving myself the necessary time for reflection, which is something that, as a coach, I absolutely support and celebrate when my clients do it. And, I'm giving the rallying cry. And what undoubtedly happens is when we get into kind of that work cycle, we forget about the things that work for us. And so what works for me is writing and thinking, and obviously doing this podcast. This has been an amazing platform that I've had since 2017 that's allowed me to just kind of get my thoughts out there, talk to some amazing people, challenge status quo in a space that, if you listen, great. I'd love to hear from you. If it's your first time, welcome to the craziness that is my brain. But I realize a lot of us don't have that platform, that medium, that space that is ours, that is judgment free, that allows us to just express. And that's why I do this show. That's why I continue to put out episodes. We're at almost 200, which is crazy to think about. And I would love to hear from you of, what shows resonate, what topics you want to dive into more of, because I'm just going on what I'm noticing, what I see in the world, what's coming up for my clients. So, obviously, the more the merrier. Would love to get the take. But today I want to talk about something that I've kind of been digging into more of, which is inner trust. And so we talk about, our bodies and our strength and our resilience. And, I'm listening to this amazing book about setting boundaries. And what I'm hearing is, yes, doing boundary work is amazing, but what prevents people from actually getting there? What prevents people from maintaining their boundaries? And so we could go into mindset, we could go into, belief work and things like that. But what I think it is at the core is trust. And it's not even about trusting other people, but about trusting ourselves. And so when we go to the gym, we want to get stronger. We want to get in more shape. We lift weights. We are doing repetitions to build our muscles. And so what if we thought about our inner trust, our self-trust as our Truscles, our trust muscles? What if every day, every opportunity was a moment to build on that strength, to challenge it, to stretch it? I used to be a CrossFit gym owner. I used to be a CrossFit coach, and we would always encourage members to try a little bit more, not in an unsafe way, but to build more load. And the reason for that is if we continuously do the same thing, if I'm only lifting 10 pounds my whole life, I never know what I'm capable of, or I'm stuck in that rut of my capacity, my mental capacity, my trust capacity is only 10 pounds. And so I'm going to do all these reps and I might get strong to that level, but I'm never exercising more beyond that. I'm staying stuck. And so when we think about building our trust muscles, there are going to be situations that are beyond what we've ever done. They might be sticky. They might be uncomfortable. They might be awkward. And when we can approach it in thinking, this is an opportunity to strengthen my trust muscles, my Truscles, imagine what else I could do. And what happens is once we've proven to ourselves that we can do it, that we've done it, it becomes part of our foundation. It becomes part of that solid core of who we are, because we can always refer back to that one time that we did something brave, that we were courageous. And so this is this opportunity to reframe taking risks, to reframe doing new things, to reframe what it means to be in uncertainty and to navigate that. And so think about where your trust muscles are right now. If you haven't really used them, they might be a little atrophied. But just like with our muscle memory in our biceps, when we start to exercise them again, we start to get stronger much faster, because what we're doing is recalling. They call it muscle memory. And our trust has that same muscle memory. It remembers the times that we trusted ourselves. It remembers the time that we trusted other people. It remembers what worked. And it also remembers what didn't work. And so there is absolutely the counter of this, which is trauma, where we have probably over trusted and been disappointed or let down, or had expectations that weren't met. And so this is the opportunity to objectify this, to not personalize and say, well, this is always going to happen, or I can't trust these people, into where is my trust muscle right now and where do I want it to get to? So let's imagine that it's on the spectrum of 1 to 100, because 0 does not exist here. You have some trust because you live in the world, you operate in the world, you leave your house, hopefully. And so every day you can kind of check in with your trust muscle. Where is it? So maybe today I'm at a 54. And I know that I'm going to do some risky stuff. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to try a new project. I'm going to reach out to a new prospect, and I'm going to need that trust muscle to be at like an 85. So I got to think about, okay, what do I need to believe in, or what do I need to do to prepare myself or remember about myself that's going to get me to that level? How can I flex up and really step into that power? And also, what does it feel like? Who am I at that 85 level of trust? How am I showing up differently? I've just been, I mentioned earlier, I've been listening to this book on setting boundaries. And I'll put a link to this in the show notes. My friend Natasha recommended it. And it's been amazing, because I realized that in my own experience, I have avoidance reactions. So when I feel boundaries are being challenged or threatened, my go-to is to exit the premises, to cut off relationships. And sometimes that is absolutely necessary. But what I was not doing, and what I noticed and what I'm owning here, is that I was ghosting people. I was just checking out, stage left, hoping they got the hint. And so I'm making it part of my process where I am closing the loop, which is uncomfortable. But I'll tell you, even just writing a letter has allowed me to be at more peace, because it's allowed me to be honest and in integrity. And that's where the energy was draining from. So I had to trust myself to speak my truth, to trust that I knew what was best for me, and let it go. But we can't give our power away. We have to take ownership in our actions. We have to be consistent, because that's where trust gets broken down. If we say we're going to do something and we don't do it, it signals to our heart, to our brain, okay, we can't trust ourselves. We don't really mean it. So I encourage you to start telling the truth with yourself. So if you say, I'm going to go send that email, and we're at the end of the day and you didn't do it, you got to reconcile it. So I didn't send this email out today. When is a reasonable time for me to actually do it? We don't want to get on the excuse train, because if you're giving yourself excuses, you are breaking down trust with yourself every single day. And so the way that you do more courageous things, the way that you become more disciplined, the way that you become more consistent with yourself and other people, is to keep your word. So it starts with the simplest transaction. So I'm getting up this morning. I'm brushing my teeth this morning. I'm taking a shower this morning. I'm journaling this morning. I'm eating a nutritious breakfast this morning. You're in the motion of doing it. You're recognizing it when it's happening. What we don't want to do is set ourselves up. Okay, at 6 a.m., I am going to do this. At 7 o'clock, I'm going to do this. There's something that happens when we use going, that ing, that gives us wiggle room to get out of it. And so if we are actually in motion and committed to doing things, we have to speak them as they are happening and confirming it. This is also that validation that happens. And so many times I see clients, I hear people talk about getting fulfilled by other people or doing things for other people. And my question is always, and what are you doing for yourself? And how are you filling yourself up? How are you serving yourself? Because if we're always focused on getting that external gratification from other people, we're not building that internal trust, that internal validation that gives us the resilience, that gives us the courage, that gives us the bravery to push forward. And so these are these key things that we have to start shifting and reshaping. Otherwise, we're just going to read self-help books or listen to podcasts and get inspired for 20 minutes or 2 weeks, and then we fall off. So if you truly want to make these transformations, you've got to get back in touch with yourself. You've got to rebuild that trust-based relationship with yourself. Because if you don't, it's going to be more of the same of this external trace, this external chase, where we're seeking those pings of endorphins of other people giving us that social feeling of acceptance. And so we have to accept ourselves. When we trust ourselves, we accept ourselves for who we are. And that allows us to grow. It allows us to do new things, to stretch beyond what we've ever known. And so if you feel like you've ever been stuck, this is the first place to start. Ask yourself, if I trusted myself more, what would be possible? Answer that question. If I trusted myself more, what would be possible? And then, what do I need to trust myself more? Start small. Be consistent. Small, little bite-sized pieces will help build it up, and recognize every day when you've done that. I just came out with this journal, the Awesome Shit List. It's the new iteration of it. It is there to capture the positive things you are doing for yourself, the hard work you are doing, the big shifts you're doing. If we don't capture the good stuff, we aren't giving ourselves credit for it. And we can't expect us to live off the crumbs that other people drop for us. We've got to be filling ourselves up with nutritious meals, figuratively and literally. You know, we need to have that good food in us. And we also need to fill ourselves up with those good vibes. We need to recognize it and absorb it as our own. Because if we don't, it doesn't matter how much people fill us up, it's going to have holes in that container. It's not going to stay. And then we're going to be chasing more and more of it. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in learning more about flexing and building your trust muscle, you can actually go to trustmuscle.com. We've got some great resources there. We're going to continue adding more, and keep us posted on your new trust muscle workout routine. Flex it up, flex those trussels, and y'all keep being awesome.